Hello, Laura back, and this time with an L6M1 Learning Objective 2 question. Now, I've chosen an essay question here, but this is a question that could also easily be applied to a case scenario. So bear that in mind as we're going through. This is our question. A procurement team wish to make major changes to their supply chain. Explain the main sections and contents that should be included in a communication plan. So this is something that students should do better at than they do. This is a question that when I mark these, students tend to not fulfill all of the areas of a communication plan. So I wanted to create a little structure for you. Now, obviously, the example that you use running this through, whether it's a case scenario example or an example from your organization, can make a huge difference to how you answer it. So I'm giving you the framework here, and you then have to fill in the examples. So we always start with defining. So I wanted to define a communication plan. So a communication plan is an approach to providing stakeholders with information. The plan formally defines who should be given specific information, when that information should be delivered, and what communication channels will be used. That's essentially what we're going to be going through today. So here is the main bulk of your answer. This is the framework of how I want you to answer the question. And every one of these bullet points should be a separate paragraph that you are typing in your exam. So let's run this through. In a communication plan, you would expect to see an introduction, an overview of what the communication plan is all about. So what is this communication plan about? Then once you've said kind of a synopsis, a high level value of we're doing a communication plan for this restructure, you then engage in a stakeholder analysis. So this is where you map your stakeholders in terms of power and interest, or if you're going to use the stakeholder salience model, urgency as well. And you use tools such as Mendelow's matrix or the stakeholder salience one to see which stakeholders should be your priority. And then once you've mapped them in those quadrants or circles, you then can create an engagement strategy. How is stakeholder buy-in to be achieved? What communication methods are you going to use with them? For example, if we use Mendelow, so the keep close, which is high power and high interest, you may want face-to-face, one-to-one communication. Whereas the keep informed, high interest, low power, you may want to do group communication or an email or a report or something along those lines. So there's many different methods and they depend on the different quadrants. Once you've chosen the communication method and time to send that, you can also choose an influencing approach. So which influencing tools and styles will work the best with each stakeholder group? Will it be things like rational persuasion, using logic? Inspirational appeal, appealing to their values, making them want to go that extra mile? Will it be pressure, where you're using your authority and pressure to force them to do something? Probably not a great long-term approach, but these are all different influencing approaches that they could use. The next stage is the operational bit of the communication plan. So it goes into detail of what methods, electronic or otherwise, are going to be used to communicate with stakeholders. It also schedules it. What times are this going to happen? Who's going to get the information first? How is it going to be rolled out? And so on and so on. And then finally, very importantly, you need an evaluation stage. This is important because if you don't evaluate what you've done, you have no idea to the success of that communication plan. So it's setting clear KPIs for the assessment of the success. So did we communicate to the right people at the right time, at the right place, in the right order, and so on and so on. So this evaluation allows you to gain feedback and get your stakeholders' viewpoints on board as well. Let them feel more bought into it. So this is the framework of your essay, these areas. However, you need to fill them in with examples, either from a case scenario or examples of a communication plan that you've made up for your own organization. Perhaps you've done one for your organization, or you can think of one for a scenario like a restructure, bringing in an ERP system, and so on and so on. Remember to use examples which address the context of the question. So a lot of the time it can be a good idea to talk about things that procurement would get involved in, because you need to read the question carefully and see whether it mentions the procurement department or a procurement context in particular. If you're giving generic examples through that and not linking back to procurement, you may miss out on marks. So I hope you found that useful. That is a framework for you to use. Please save that and catch me back for another constructive response exam question soon. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.